Hi, I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all over the world about parenting, good communication, building strong family bonds. And in this video, I'm talking about how to increase maturity in a child. In this video, we're going to talk about what happens when a child matures and what you can do to help a child develop more quickly. So let's talk about maturity. What does it mean to be mature? Well, if you think of a fruit tree maybe, or if you grow vegetables or something, whatever grows around you, when that thing is ripe or ready to pick, then that means that it is mature. So when something is complete, when it's ready, when it's prepared for its use, then that thing is mature. So when a child is matured, that means that they are ready, prepared, complete. What does that mean? That means that they actually are an adult. When a person is ripe, that means that they are fully developed adults. So a child is not going to become fully ripe in childhood. However, some children are noticeably more mature than other children. And this is because maybe they've had life experiences, understandings, connections, or relationships that have helped them to develop maturity more quickly than their peers. When a child is more mature than their peers, it usually looks like this. The child can communicate more effectively. The child can handle upsets and problems with a little bit more calmness and perspective. A child who is more mature than other children can usually do things like understand other people. This leads to certain behaviors like sharing, giving, serving, sacrificing for other people. When a child is more mature, they see how their behaviors relate to the other people's behaviors around them. They oftentimes, if they're more mature, have a sense of what somebody else might be feeling or going through, which can lead to increased compassion and understanding to other people around them. So usually a child that is more mature is less emotional, but more affectionate. Less dramatic, but more connected to the people around them. Children who are mature aren't necessarily more intelligent, but they do have a connection to other people that helps them understand the world around them better. There are different kinds of intelligence. There's intellectual intelligence, there's spiritual intelligence, social or practical intelligence, and emotional intelligence. A person has to develop maturity in each of these intelligences in order to be fully mature. Now, I know someone must be thinking out there, and it is true, that there are some adults who don't reach full maturity, even though they've made it all the way through their adult years. It's true. And that's because some people don't fully mature in one aspect or another. Hopefully we're all maturing all the time, but when we are talking about that moment of adult maturity, we're talking about that moment when a person's prefrontal cortex has fully developed. They have good social skills and connection with the people around them. They can solve their problems, understand and care about other people. So basically, they would have all the skills required to solve the problems of a career, run a household, and raise other children. These are going to be some of the three key things that we know that a person is able to do when they've reached their full maturity. Now, some people don't reach full maturity until they actually have a child and start raising a child. And that's okay. In fact, I've noticed with my children that when they start having children, they change. Usually for the better. They become more mature. They see the world through a new lens, where before maybe they only thought about themselves in relation to what was on the TV. Now they're not going to watch a certain show because they have a child sitting next to them and They don't want the child to witness that type of violence or something that might concern the child. So you see, they now are caring about the other people around them in a new way. Well, children are developing maturity all the time, of course, because they're going toward this adulthood. But there are some children who develop more maturity quicker, and this is because their parents are actually nurturing all the different intelligences that they have. Their environment is usually very rich and very vocal. Remember that. People who are more vocal, people who discuss more, are people who are usually more mature in the end. People who discuss and who problem solve in groups as part of group discussion with a family or something are people who are going to better be able to solve their problems, which leads to increased maturity. You could have a person who academically is far behind, but when it comes to practical intelligence, emotional and social intelligence, they are way ahead. And that's because the intellectual intelligence usually only is a factor of IQ. However, all of the other intelligences, like the SQ, the EQ, and the other SQ and the PQ, those are all other intelligences that do not factor in just basic IQ levels. So we're going to talk about how to increase this maturity, but first click the subscribe button. Everything I teach on this channel, literally everything, helps people mature because it's all about the principle of self-government, which it's a given. In order to be self-governing, you have to be moving forward, which is basically what maturity is all about. So click subscribe now. All right, so I already gave you one tip, and that is talk. More talk, more discussion is super important. Children also need more experiences. So often we think they're going to gain their experiences from TV or being online with people, social media, stuff like that. No. Those are some experiences, but they're not necessarily maturing experiences. Maturing experiences are where you have to take different factors from your environment around you and then process it and decide how you will change to fit that environment. So this requires real, active, real life experiences. Doing things like working in a garden or fixing a car or maybe painting a fence, building a birdhouse, using tools of some sort, cooking in a kitchen. These are going to be the type of experiences that mature people. Many people do not allow their children to use knives and do cooking around hot things, and they're worried about the safety factors for their children, and so they push off maturity. Wise parents teach their children about the potential dangers and the safety precautions to take into consideration, and then they allow them to face amounts of that danger by doing adult skills. It's really the adult skills that make all the difference. Don't keep your children abandoned in this little world of childhood where they don't learn how to be adults. Take them along with you. Allow them to do the skill development with you. When you're learning how to cut a stained glass window or sew a particular garment, teach them how to do it along with you so that they can learn the problem solving that you're learning. This will mature them even quicker. I taught my children the skills and principles of self-government because that's how I was going to run my family. In fact, it was mostly because I didn't want to lose control as a parent. I taught them skills like how to accept no answers, which means disappointments and when things don't go right? Or when someone tells you no. I taught them how to follow instructions, accept consequences, disagree appropriately, because I wanted our communication at home to be good. Well, I was teaching them adult skills. Those adult skills led them to be asked to speak in front of whole congregations, town halls full of people, starting at the ages of 7 and 8 years old, teaching people how to parent their children. And they were yet still children. That's how they matured, because they learned those skills. In fact, the communication skills that you have in your home, the way that you solve problems and conflicts as a family, is one of the #1 predeterminers at creating maturity. Families that talk together, play together, problem solve together, and communicate in really healthy ways create healthier, more mature children. Families that isolate on their devices, play their Lego in their room with their friend, their thing, actually maintain entitlement, which is something that encourages immaturity. If you want your children to be mature, you've got to be doing things together and talking about things together on a regular basis. Having that full family culture develop the child. And it starts with learning the basics of communication. This book, Parenting a House United, teaches the basics of communication for a family. It teaches the things that my children were teaching other people starting at age 7. Things like 4 basic skills, 5 teaching styles. Yes, they should know how you're going to teach them and correct them. It should be completely predictable. It's totally relevant to their life. They need to know those skills. They're going to be parents one day. And even if they're not, they need to know what you're doing to help them. And that it really is just you helping them. Study this. Use it. Or do the course together as a family. There's a TSG parenting course on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com. You can do it as a family and learn the skills together. Or maybe take some of your older children and come to one of the 3-day trainings that I do. When your children learn to disagree appropriately with you and get their way and feel understood without having to argue, get emotional, or manipulate, they feel empowered. That empowering feeling leads them to do more brave things. Step out of their comfort zone even more, which are key things to creating maturity in a child. Help the children step out of their comfort zone. We live in a society that is creating fragility among children. People are so worried about their comfort levels and their anxiety levels that they are not actually stepping out enough to grow up. They're not wanting to drive or date or launch from homes. They're not wanting jobs. They're wanting handouts. Those are all signs of a society that is struggling with a lack of maturity. The immaturity is taking over because of the entitlement. To teach your children to be mature, have them do more. Lots of work. Work with you, work on their own, step out of their comfort zones, do adult things, get jobs, drive cars. Don't tell the police this, but we let our children start to learn how to drive our car when they were like 10 years old. I mean, we were there, we were in the area, it was in the driveway or in a church parking lot, but we thought we want them to learn how to respect all these things, to learn the ins and outs of mechanics and machines. We want them to mature. And so we embraced it. I know many people think, I don't want them to grow up, it's happening too fast. But I'll tell you what, when they grow up, even if it does happen fast, they get closer to you. The respect and the relationship increases. The bond is better than it was when they were immature. So why would you not want them to grow up? It just gets better. If you've enjoyed this video, I know you'll love my next video, which is called The Expectation Trap versus the Cycle for Success. It's a full-length class all about how we sometimes trap ourselves in these expectations, and our children can get trapped too, and what to do to make sure that we are putting our family on the cycle for success. Click on the link to that video now. I'll see you there.